father came back from Jap prisoner of war camp, we went to live in
So he was imprisoned by the Japanese in the fall of Singapore.
after the yeah.
Yeah.
But he came.
Were you there or?
Yeah. 2 weeks before the
God,
fall.
what was that like?
Come on.
Briefly. I know.
Well, he got us
Do you
on.
remember any of it?
There were the last 4 boats. They
Right.
were. He heard there was space, and he got down to the house from the RAF station, and he told us. Told me, my mother and my sister and me, and I was 6, and my sister was 9 or 10.
Yeah.
8 or 9,
Yeah.
and he said, Cannon, what's his name? The next door neighbour is bringing a car because the Japanese were shelling. You see, the shells were going over our house because there was a hill behind.
Yeah.
And so anyway, this car didn't turn up, and there was no traffic, no nothing. I mean, the Japs were just on the mainland,
Right.
and so anyway, in the end, the car turned up, and we stood across the road and told this man he's taking us to the boat.
Yeah.
And I still know his expression when he said it. But a bunch of people and kids standing across the road saying, "Oh, you're taking us to the harbour."
Yeah.
Well, so he took us to the harbour, and we got on the boat, and I'd been told you take nothing.
Yeah.
You see, and when I got on the boat, these damn kids had bicycles and everything, and all I had
A military boat or a civilian boat?
No, normal boats.
Okay.
They're requisition boats.
Right, yeah.
And there was all I had was this tiny little tin box with a few wires, and they were my only toys, and I'm 6. And then by mistake I left them on the table once, and I went downstairs and I came back, and there was this man with a great big smile, and he got the box and he was handing these bits all around to the other kids, and I was absolutely appalled, and I walked away. But so I lost my last toys. Anyway, there were 2 of our boats, and ours had been bombed in the harbour, and 5 Australians killed. So it's damaged boats. So we only went to Ceylon, and there's our boat and another boat. We went together. But the next 2 boats after us, one was sunk, one survivor. So it was close. But so then we ended up in Ceylon for a few weeks in a hospital up in the hills, which we call the concentration camp. The next thing I remember was you had a bowl of sugar and a bowl of salt, and I'm a kid eating my porridge at the age of 6, and I poured loads of salt in, and the impact that makes when you're 6, you get, because I liked a lot of sugar on my porridge. Terrible. But then my mother got another boat and took us somewhere else. But the thing is that that then towards the end, my father was signals, so he went to the airport, to the airfield, to smash up all the electrical equipment,
Right.
and he found everything in perfect condition, because you mustn't damage. You mustn't damage public property.
Yeah.
So that's what you're taught. So they're leaving this in perfect condition for the Japs, you see. So, but everything else was fine. My father got a few people, but before that, the station commander, when that they had a squadron of Buffaloes, 25-year-old planes.
Yeah.
And they sent those up against the Japanese, and 2 came back. So that was the end of that airfield.
Yeah.
So then the Japanese were pattern bombing, but they always came at 10 a.m. You see, and you get this idea. They say, "See you tomorrow," that kind of. So every morning, a few people were killed. You see, my father said, "Why don't we go down the road?" Except for the people manning the Beauforts. The station commander said, "No, it's good for the men to stand up to fire. So it's good for your morale to sit there while bombs drop on you." Anyway, that man, when the Japs got nearer, he ordered his way on a boat. He ran away to Australia, but he had links with the aristocracy, so he got away with it. But the adjutant ran away too, the station adjutant, but he didn't have family links, so he was cashiered. But then, that's why there was nobody there towards the end. There was no command.
Yeah.
And so you had to do your own thing, but of course you can't if you're disciplined to obey orders.
Yeah.
So nothing happened. But it was. And the thing is, on my old website, you look for "What a Life," "What a Life" by Sidney Catt, and this is, you look for the date's like 1938, and never published, but when, it's not when he was in. Yeah, a bit when he's in Singapore, but then he gets on the boat, and the way the Japs were bombing that boat, going to Java, and then in Java. They're wandering around, no instructions. The point is that in the military you're told you must obey orders, you must obey orders. But when things get bad, you don't get any orders because the officers have run away or the officers are dead, you see. And then you have, you see, and the horror was they were walking, you don't march, you see, and you don't march. And when somebody falls behind, you go back and cheer him up because his shoes are worn out and the other people's shoes haven't. So you don't discipline for having his shoes worn out. And my father was senior officer, but that's terrible when you read about that. And but I don't have to tell you that I reckon that's electrifying writing, and that's you can go in at sort of 1940. Fall of Singapore was 1942, but you go in on that kind of date, and I think it's very fine writing. But it's because I'm his son.
Yeah, no, it's very interesting.
But I mean, I don't have to talk about it anyway. Where were we? Twice. In Heaviside's 5 volumes, does he mention energy current? This is important. His great contribution was the phrase energy current. You move away from electric current, which is what flows down the wires, to energy current, which is like the train going to Edinburgh, is guided by the wires. What I was supposed to talk about was 1976. Now, 1976 was the great breakthrough when I knew I was big. And this was obviously my greatest achievement in my whole life. And at that time I was age quite old, wasn't I? I was age 41. Is it? Yeah, quite old. And if you read my 1994 book,
Electromagnetism 1,
first published in 1995, which is now on the web at at www.ivorcatt.com, isn't it?
Yeah.
You see an introduction by Dave Walton, my co-author Dave Walton, my co-author in other books. I think Ivor's own words recorded at the time are the best history of what happened next. Then one night, 28th of May 1976, which Ivor today says he thinks should read 26th of May 1976, and the book where I recorded everything that happened and got co-signatures, because when you make a breakthrough you should write it down and get someone else to co-sign it with the date, and it was co-signed by Davidson. But where's the book gone now? I think will say 26th of May 76. Then one night, as was his wont, Walton phoned Catt and talked about a number of things, how he knew he should get the sine wave out of his conceptual system, but how difficult it was to do so. How he wondered how the particle came into Faraday's law of induction. That perhaps the law was only an approximation and did not hold exactly at the atomic level. Catt wanted no particles introduced into the argument. Then Walton raised the point about a Faraday's law loop. You have a loop of wire with a capacitor as part of the loop. Catt said that if instead of a C you had the end of a very long 50 ohm transmission line, it would look just like a resistor. Walton said, so that gets rid of displacement current.
Right.
Catt and there's bits cut out here occasionally, but the full thing is, oh, why is it ... It must be written somewhere else more completely. Catt and Walton promptly agreed that a capacitor was a transmission line. You see, Catt, talking to Walton, said, I don't want displacement current. See, Walton said, what about a capacitor, a loop of wire,